Hi there, welcome to Hashtag with Nabuguzi Kiwanuka. This is the place where we help you unravel social constructs, discuss self-development in line with mental health, and everything in between that directly or indirectly affects us in the millennial world around us. My goal is to create a virtual platform for you and I to explore and engage in pertinent conversations society is silent about. What you get from this is without a doubt a chance for you to have a moment of self-assessment so that you can ably jump into your next best season. I am your host, Nabuguzi Kiwanuka, a lawyer, founder, team lead of Equate Foundation, an addict and lover of insightful conversations, and a professional unraveler of social constructs. If you're hearing my voice for the first time and are the kind of person who is not scared of being a better version of yourself, even if it requires you to contradict who you were 24 hours ago, you made the right choice to come here, because on here we keep unraveling the truest version of ourselves. To the returned subscriber, thank you so much for choosing Hashtag with Nabuguzi Kiwanuka. And my hope is that I'll keep serving you the content that you so much desire. We've come to the middle of the year, and I think it is a great time for recalibration and deep self-assessment. So our guest today is none other than Lawrence Namale. He's a life coach and purpose trainer who helps people to discover, to own and deploy their purpose. He shared his life's journey with us and also broke down what it takes to discover one's purpose. Let's get into it. Hi Namale.
Hello.
Welcome to Hashtag with Nabuguzi Kiwanuka.
Thank you.
So tell us about who Namale is.
Cool. So Lawrence Namale is a life coach and purpose trainer. I help people to discover, to own, and to deploy their purpose.
Right.
And just like you've said, I'm a Kenyan. The reason as to why I ended up in Uganda is a long story.
Yeah.
I'm in Uganda. This is my 10th year, I should think so. But the first time I came to Uganda was in 2008, in December.
Was that a visit?
It was a visit, but also work-related.
Okay.
I came here to interview some guys so that we can launch a project called Mobile Money.
Yo. Okay.
We had worked with Safaricom M-Pesa.
Yeah.
Experimented with it, and it worked.
Yeah.
And so MTN guys thought that if there is a product that helps them to secure people on the SIM cards, because people used to throw away SIM cards. They call it churn. You buy a SIM card today, you throw it away.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So now you cannot throw a SIM card that has mobile money on it. And the guys in Safaricom M-Pesa had successfully done that bit.
So, wait. I'm seated with a pioneer of big brains. Like, this thing about mobile money.
Yeah.
It wasn't about making transactions easier, but to keep clients.
Yeah. You see, it's evolved.
Yeah.
They will not tell you, but it actually has evolved. The biggest problem in the when mobile phones, forget about smartphones, these mobile phones with the QWERTY keypad where you type.
Was
if
it
you
even
wanted,
QWERTY? That's not QWERTY.
It wasn't even QWERTY. It was JKL on one key.
You had to press 1,000.
You press several times to get. I don't know how we used to text those days.
It was cool. It used to make so much noise, like. Yeah.
Now the biggest problem in those days, the year 2006, 2007, 2008, the biggest problem of mobile telecom companies was churn. Churn is you get a SIM card, you use, and they used to have offers. They put 5K on the SIM card and so on.
When it's new.
Yeah, when it's new.
Right.
So you get it, you use it, you throw it away.
Oh, and you keep getting free
airtime all the time. You get and it was not just a problem here, but also a problem over there. So when mobile money came, or when M-Pesa came, it did not come specifically to remove churn.
Okay.
But churn became a result. Removing churn became a result of having mobile money or M-Pesa on your phone.
Yeah.
So the telecom, what the Safaricom did, they were experimenting with the microfinance on how to send money to the village. Actually, it was just sending money to the village. That was the experimentation.
Yeah.
And then it became a novel idea. It just went and, just like wildfire. In less than a year, Safaricom had over 1 million subscribers to M-Pesa.
Whoa.
In less than a year.
Before you know it, they're jumping from other telecoms, getting to...
So now what happened is that once they realized that they have this 1 million people, they also realized, wait a minute, they are not churning as much as they used to do.
Yeah.
And MTN and other telcos, they heard about that bit.
They still
and
had
they were
that.
having a headache of churn. Of course, they wanted to know how they can also do the service, but one of the things that they wanted to eliminate was churn.
Yeah.
So they went to Nairobi and they talked to Safaricom. Safaricom told them that you need to have a system in place, the technical system that houses mobile money, that does mobile money. But then you also need to have agents.
Yeah.
You have to have mobile money agents. They are the ones who are going to interact with the people.
Were agents there straight away?
They were not there.
I think they said it was service centers.
The guys that were there were service centers and what they call MTN dealers. Those are the people that used to sell airtime, scratch cards, phones.
Yo, there were scratch cards before. I forgot that.
Yes, we used to have scratch cards. So now the idea was to Safaricom told them that you need those guys, and those guys, we don't interact with them directly. We have a third party. So I was working for that third party. Yeah, and the story is actually very long, how I ended up here and so on and so forth, but that's how I ended up. MTN went to Safaricom and they told them, we want to do this. Safaricom told them, get a system in place, buy it from whatever place you want to buy it, but then get an agency that is going to manage your agents, to develop your trade. So I was working for the company that develops trade, a trade development company. And so the trade development company looks around and they say, okay, we have a contract with MTN. We need to send at least 2 people who can help to to recruit a team that and manage the team, and that team can recruit agents, and the agents can now work with MTN and so on. And so I ended up coming to recruit guys and so on and so forth. I became the what was my title? It was manager or something, national manager or something like that.
It doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't matter anymore.
Manager or something. Okay.
It really doesn't matter anymore. And so that's how I ended up in Uganda. And so in 2008, I came to recruit.
Yeah.
I recruited some guys. I came to do interviews. I interviewed some guys and then went back to Kenya. And in 2009, in January, we came to get started. So we started in January, February, March. We officially did a launch. I think
the mobile money.
The mobile money was launched. I think the minister was who was involved that time was still the Awori guy. I think, what was his name?
I wouldn't know, man.
You wouldn't know. It was a minister in this country. When I was a young guy, 12 years of age, I used to know all the ministers in Kenya, and they used to be 45.
Well, I didn't care.
Okay, yeah, that's the answer.
Because I know that's what you want to bring out, yeah, right?
Yeah. Anyway, so that's how it is. That's how I ended up in Uganda, and I worked for MTN with that particular company. I worked for MTN for 1 year to 1.5 years, I think. And then I moved on to this Me Too thing that people normally do when you start a stall in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Someone else like, me too, I can start a stall. That's the same thing UTL did. They saw MTN doing mobile money.
UTL was the second one?
UTL was the second
one. Take that on?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. They by the way, UTL had a very powerful product.
Yeah.
It's called UTL M Center in terms of the system.
Oh, M Center.
Yeah.
But I think they've tried so much to market it, and
you guys, let me tell you, those guys had one of the most perfect products in terms of the system, in terms of ease of use.
Really?
When we started MTN Mobile Money, nobody wanted that animal because the cumbersome details, the cumbersome way of, there's something we used to call swim swapping. If you wanted to get to MTN Mobile Money, you bring your SIM card we put it in a SIM card swap, whatever it is. We swap your details to put on a bigger SIM card that has a bigger capacity.
Oh,
and then
really?
you put it back in your phone, and sometimes it will take like 2 days for it to go live to be activated. It used to be a big headache.
That was could that be
Enter
the first
M
year?
Center. Yeah, that was the first several months.
Yeah.
M Center comes in. It was an instant thing because it used to be USSD, star. I can't remember star whatever it is. These days we take these things so much for granted. Getting on mobile money was a headache, serious headache, and people did not want it. By the way, people did not want mobile money.
Really?
Yeah, it was. We did what we needed to do for people to get on board.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
So there you are, man. I mean, you're now seated with the person that brought mobile money. And I'm like,
technically.
much respect. What did you want to be while growing up?
Oh,
Before ending up into this kind of system of trade.
Yeah.
What did you want to be while growing up?
Yeah. First of all, I wanted to become a human rights lawyer because in those days.
How old were you thinking about all these things?
I told you I used to read a lot of newspapers.
Oh, right.
And so you will see the politicians who are, those days we used to have a single party rule in Kenya.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. Actually, we used to call him M01 instead of Moi. The only president. And you know, one is this finger.
Yeah.
And his party was KANU, and the symbol was
the finger.
Yeah, so M01. And so people were clamoring for multi-party democracy, multi-party system of democracy, and so on. And you will open the newspapers and you read such politicians, the who is who, and you see these guys, nearly all of them were lawyers, human rights lawyers.
Specifically human rights
yeah, most of them. I remember Kraitu Murungi was a human rights lawyer. Gitobo Imanyara was a lawyer. James Orengo was a lawyer. Paul Muite was a lawyer. I read all those guys at 10 years, 11 years, and those became my role models. I wanted to become like them. Yeah? And I was... there was this radical side of me also. I would argue with people. And
I like doing that.
I do.
Sometimes even when it's not necessary,
like now, what have I done?
Like, okay, not now. You know, I mean, like, this guy.
Yeah, so I like to dot all the I's and to cross all the T's. Just details, nothing hanging. But the aspect of fighting for democracy really caught my attention, and those guys became my role models.
Yeah.
So when I didn't get there,
what did that feel like?
It felt like, well, you deserve. You are playful at school.
Forget the playing.
Yeah.
Because now there's a question of what does the future hold for me?
Now, let me tell you, that is one of the most critical aspects of life, because I was one of the most scared people. There's this thing I call transitions.
You talked about it in your book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Transitions in life, as you're growing up, you need someone to help you to go through that transition.
Yeah.
And when the results came, and I knew, in fact, even before the results came, I knew for sure that I might not necessarily pass.
Yeah.
Actually, the B- to me was a shock. I thought I would get a C+ or something like that.
So the B- is like a general mark for all the
B-
exams?
B-, no, okay, the general mark for all the exams. Okay, you have mathematics, you can get an A.
So you guys
English,
were not graded in aggregate?
No.
Points?
They do grades. Okay.
Oh.
So grades, and you know the grades
grade
are
A, grade B.
No. As in A, it's so long I can't remember. But you see, when you score like between 0 to 30, it's an E.
Yes.
And then that kind of a thing. Okay.
So they will have an accumulative.
So mathematics, you can get an A. English you get a D plus. Then your aggregate grade goes down because English you got a D plus.
Yes,
you get. So anyway, I scored very highly in English.
Yeah.
I scored very highly. Mathematics I got a C plus. I can never forget that. I scored very highly in languages.
Yeah.
But I failed in mathematics because I got a C plus. But anyway, the cutoff point of getting to university was, I missed it by maybe 1 point or 2 points, something like that. And the things that I wanted to do, I couldn't do them. Maybe the next best thing that I could do was anthropology. I didn't know what in the world that was, but I regret not pursuing it because it's relevant to me today. Yeah.
Anthropology?
Yeah.
I remember that thing, I don't know in what subject.
Yeah. It's actually a course on its own.
Is it history related?
It's not history, it's about people.
That's archaeology.
Yeah. You girl.
But I've heard of the word, and I think, could it have been in biology or something?
No, it's not in biology. Anthropology is actually a course on its own. It's related to people, cultures, and so on and so forth. How people, anyway.
That means it was somewhere in history. You must have studied.
No,
something.
It's not something related to history.
Because it's related to people.
Yeah.
So
anyway, so the second best thing that I wanted to do growing up after failing to get to university. By the way, like I was telling you, it was. Did
you have a plan B before, or you just wanted?
I did not have a plan B. I did not have a plan B, and then another problem is that guiding and counseling for careers wasn't that existing.
Yeah.
So people just, even the selection of the universities that you go to, no one will sit down with you and take you through and guide you. I just did my own things.
Yeah.
And remember, I was still a young guy who doesn't even know what's going on in life and so on. I only knew that you finish high school and then you go to university. But the thing that I wanted to do was law. But then once law did not happen, I knew the second best thing that could happen was to become a journalist.
Okay.
Again, it's because of the newspaper. Because I used to see the journalists, how they used to...
Did you want to write?
Yeah, I wanted to write. I was a writer. Remember, I used to write. That. Quite a very nice writer, even up to today, if I may say so myself. But...
It's okay. It's okay, you can go. Yes, you are. Okay, I think it had to come from me. Blowing your own trumpet. Yes, you're a good writer.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Now, interestingly, journalism was being offered by a college, not by a university.
Okay.
And one of the biggest colleges was called Kenya Institute of Mass Communications. Okay. Now, that place, I couldn't get in with a B minus.
Because of the marks still?
No, because I don't know why I didn't get in, because they needed a C plus.
What?
Now again, the aspect of competition.
So why couldn't you get in?
I don't know. The aspect of competition comes in also because Kenya Institute of Mass Communication served the whole country. One institute.
Journalism. Everything related to journalism had to be at that college.
Print, electronic, everything. If the who is who of journalism today in Kenya, most of them went through KIMC.
Yeah.
You get. So I remember going to interviews. You had to go back to your district to attend the interviews. And I went. I was so cocky. I knew. I can do this. I have a B minus. They're looking for a C plus. I'm gonna do this. So I went, but at the end of the day, I didn't get the chance. Didn't get the opportunity.
Did they explain? Do they give you an explanation?
Who explains?
Why
remember,
this
is in the year 1996.
No, because I'm assuming. You see, with the law, what we do when people do the pre-entries and all those things, the marks are printed out and they show the cut-off marks. Basing on how you performed in the interviews. So, just like that, you don't get called and your life ends like...
Just like that.
Really?
Just like that. Nobody owes you an explanation.
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, people would ask now.
So there was...
You belong to the silent.
Silent generation. Who doesn't ask things?
You don't ask questions.
Yeah.
Because I would wonder, I have a B minus, right? And the list that you want is a C plus.
C plus.
So how do I not get in?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Were you doing an exam?
No, it was an interview, because the only thing that you need to present,
Verbal
because you've
interview?
already, it's a verbal interview, but you've already qualified because you have a certificate, a primary living, a secondary living certificate that shows you have something more than C+.
Yeah.
That's all that was needed, and then you go for an interview. But maybe in the interview I must have,
messed up
I must have
somewhere.
messed up, because remember, we were still having the, if I'm correct, we were still having the single party rule, which needed people to be, genuflecting and just be obedient to the government of the day. And in those days there used to be the Nation newspaper, and there used to be the Standard newspaper in Kenya. The Nation was this radical newspaper that would write fearlessly about the regime and all these politicians and the lawyers that I used to love reading about.
Yeah.
So I must have been asked, what is your favorite newspaper? And you know what my answer was? Probably that's why I was...
We're not taking rebels. We're not taking
rebels.
We're not taking any more of that.
Yeah.
Okay, makes
Probably
sense.
someone should have mentored me and told me this is a government institution. And if they ask you things like this, be as governmental pro as possible.
Pro-government as possible.
Yeah.
So how do you recalibrate yourself coming out from, you're not going to the university, the college has not taken you, and then what?
So
I imagine, what was that like for you in that moment? Because
wasn't
even
easy.
Option B that you got much later is not considering you, then what next?
So what happened? One day I'm going through a newspaper and I see the Kenya School of Monetary Studies, a big time institution affiliated to the Central Bank of Kenya, advertising for courses that they're offering. There are courses to do the banking, whatever it is. But a course got my attention because it had the keyword information.
Yeah.
I did not know what an animal was, but I just saw management information systems. I said, this is it. I showed it to my dad.
Information was that for you, yeah.
I said, this is the course I want to do. Show it to my dad. I had no clue what that thing was. I thought it was something related to journalism and so on.
Yeah.
So he looks for funds and so on. We found out that it was day. There was no boarding. You just go and you come back every single evening. You come back. So I went there and I got enrolled, and I was surprised that I was taken to a computer lab.
I was surprised.
I had no clue. Remember, this is 1998.
It's still fresh. I think that was like a new course in that period.
Management information systems, things to do with computer. We didn't have a computer. Was some highly elevated machine. So anyway, I thought management information system was something to do with journalism and writing and so on. So I got there and I found that it's a course about technology and about computers and so on. And I just flew the system. I loved it.
Yeah.
But my life depended on that thing. The guys that I were doing the course together with were just, these guys from rich families who are just passing time.
Yeah.
Remember, in Kenya, you graduate from S4, you spend like 2-3 years before you can go to university. Those days.
Oh yeah.
Because of the system.
Oh, S4 was the highest?
S4 is the highest. They did away with
or even now?
Even now, they did away with S6.
Yo.
Yeah. So you spend quite a bit of time before you can go to university. And so one of the ways that people used to pass time is to take these simple courses like management information systems as you wait to go to university, or as you wait to go out to the United States of America.
Yeah.
For me, this was it. I wasn't passing time.
You're not going to the US anyway.
You guys. That was it. And I took to it like, my life depends on it and so on. And it had one advantage, because one of the principles that I normally teach people in life is that interviews are normally carried out not in boardrooms. As I'm speaking with you, I know we're doing an interview, but I'm speaking with you, even as you're walking around the streets, life is giving you an interview.
Yeah.
And the payment for that interview is going to come later on in different ways. Because once I finished that course, the course was supposed to go up to graduate diploma, something like that. But my parents did not have money. I finished up to higher diploma.
Yeah.
And I had to retreat back to the village. It was the worst experience ever. Praying, I'm a prayer warrior. I have never prayed against going back to the village like before. Huh?
I've not had guys. It's not common for me to hear about guys talking about themselves as prayer warriors.
Hey, you guy. I go to the village, and I stay in the village. There's another big story that I don't have time to relate. I stay in the village for quite a while, and then I come back to the city because...
By the city you mean Nairobi?
Nairobi. Because there was an opportunity for a scholarship for guys who are not well-to-do to go and study in the Nordic countries. And my B minus was in the range of what they were looking for. Okay. So I come back ostensibly to attend that interview, but again, I don't get through.
Yeah.
I don't get through to that because, again, I don't know. I cannot tell you why.
What happened.
But then the person that invited me to stay with them as I was doing the interview offered me an olive branch to continue staying with them. And as I'm staying with them, now a friend who used to be with me in the same institute when I was doing management information systems remembers there used to be a crazy genius guy who would study like crazy. Now he was working in an organization, and they had a vacancy, and they told him to look for a person. This is a guy who is not even a friend like this.
Yeah.
But life was now giving me back. You remember life was giving me an interview as I was studying. Now 2 years later, life is paying me back. He remembers, oh, there's a Lawrence.
Yeah.
Because he was put to task to come up with an individual who is good enough, and he looked around in his old databases, I believe, and I know he had friends, but he called me.
Yeah.
So that's how I got to start working as an IT instructor, which is a glorified term of a guy who used to teach people how to double click. But you're teaching people basics, and for some reason adults had a big problem double clicking. It used to irritate me, and I think people used to be afraid of being tutored by me because I was so tough.
You didn't have the patience.
I didn't have the patience, and so on.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so you're out of the village, right?
Yeah.
You're staying with some people that have given you an extension of your stay. How do you come out of... Because I'm imagining by the time you went to this place where your friend considered to call you up for...
Yeah.
Right now because that's from information systems.
Yeah.
And then here you are as a coach.
Yeah.
You're a life purpose coach.
Yeah.
How do you transition from that? Is it called MIS?
Yes, MIS.
How do you transition from that to being a life purpose coach?
Yeah. One day, my spiritual mentor calls me and tells me, Lawrence, this organization that is helping people. Okay, there's this organization that has a vacancy. You can just go and see. Just give them your CV. I told them about you. It turns out that this organization was actually working for Safaricom, and my spiritual mentor was the project manager of M-Pesa when it was beginning. Now, life is interesting because sometimes life is not just a linear straight path, because some things that they must say, some things are an absolute must and they are necessarily not, because this organization could not employ anyone who does not have a degree. Lawrence did not have a degree, but just the fact that his spiritual mentor was a project manager for a project that this organization was handling, they felt obligated. You get?
Technical
know-who. It works, and by the way, I support it. Only with this caveat.
Sometimes you don't have the skills.
That's the caveat I was giving you.
Okay.
That's the caveat I was giving you. That I have no problem someone opening a door for you. If you're qualified. If you're qualified, if you can do what can be done, I have no problem. Someone opening the door. And actually, you shouldn't be depending on that person opening the door for you to maintain you there. Theirs is for them to open the door. What you do after the door has been opened is up to you.
Keep yourself there.
Keep yourself there. They called me. They said, Lawrence, come for the orientation. I go, and I realized that the responsibility there was IT related. And I'd done a lot of IT in college, and IT with double-clicking people, teaching people, and actually teaching myself much more. Now, every person in that organization had a degree apart from Lawrence. But the guys who were employed to do IT stuff were statistics guys who had no clue
about IT.
So I go to that organization and I find they are helter-skelter all over the place. They don't even have computers, and the client is complaining and so on. And I just started to use whatever skills that I had to start putting things in place. First of all, I went to the boss and I told the boss, we need to buy computers for everyone.
Yeah.
We need to install a system, a computer network in this place. We need people to have email addresses and so on and so forth. And I told the boss that I can oversee that whole project. You don't need to hire a different consultant to come and charge you extra money.
Yeah.
And so we deployed that, and it started working. And long story short, the organization was streamlined and things started moving and so on and so forth. And then once again, just like the 7 months in the first job, I got bored.
Ouch.
And this time around, I saw, because this organization had people who were working in the field, managers and other guys who were working in the field, and I saw that office work, I finish office work at 10 o'clock. I go to work at 8. Office work at 10 o'clock, I'm through.
Yeah.
There's nothing I'm doing. And I started knocking at the boss's office and said, give me much work, give me more responsibilities. I said, make me a team leader. Let me just go out there, The boss said, no, Lawrence, you can't. I don't know what reason was given. Okay. And then later on, I was overheard saying that I'm able to do much more than what our manager is doing. Because the manager used to come to office.
That? Was it
I don't
the
know.
boss?
I don't know. The manager used to come to office, and all she would do was to play solitaire. So someone might have gone and told her. Unbeknown to me, there is this issue of office politics, which I did not know about office politics. Now, this manager was like this, tight like this, very close to the boss. So this manager goes and whispers to the boss that there is this guy who is lazy, who is rude, who doesn't want to do his work. Really? The rest of us, we leave work at midnight. He leaves promptly at 5 o'clock.
Was that the case,
rude.
though?
Yeah, that was the case. I used to leave work at 5. Remember, I'm through at 10.
By 10?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm efficient. No one is complaining about...
So where does the laziness coming from? Like, the
laziness comes in because I said that I can do a better job than she can. And so she wanted to get me fired.
That's a threat.
Yes, she wanted to get me fired. Okay. And there was no... You see, when you want to get someone fired, you look for things that are glaring and they can actually get fired. But it wasn't. It wasn't there. So the best way to do this is to concoct some stuff.
Yeah.
Now, this boss just believed this lady hook, line and sinker. We are in the post-election violence in Kenya. That's the year 2007.
2007.
We come back, and the boss calls me to the office and summons me and tells me, Lawrence, I have been told you are rude, you are lazy, you don't work, you don't pull rank with people, you don't pull efforts with people, you don't lock arms with people, you're very lazy. I came here with an agenda. This is in January when you come back from the post-election violence. I came here with an agenda to get you fired, to fire you. But something is keeping me from firing you. I don't know what it is, but... And now, the way she's dealing with me like she's dealing with a python.
Yeah.
As in, you're facing someone, you've not done anything wrong, but they are dealing with you like you are some rat.
They came with bias.
Yes.
There's no intention of hearing your side of the story.
No. She couldn't even breathe. You want to say something and she's in your face again.
Yeah.
Say, something is keeping me from firing you, but I came to fire you. Of course, there was nothing tangible that she could use to fire me. Even those allegations of lazy and rudeness, they were not substantiated. And so she says, but what I'm going to do is this, going to give you half salary, which wasn't a big, I mean, the salary was something very small. Now it's going to be halved.
Yeah.
And the second thing that I'm going to do, first of all, the half salary is going to be indefinite. The second thing is that you're going to get someone else's responsibility. Going to swap your responsibilities to see how your laziness is going to help you.
Yeah.
Now, the responsibilities I was being given were for a guy who will leave office at midnight daily. I'm telling you, some people are committed.
Because of their workload?
Daily. Yeah, because of their workload. Let's put that workload in quotes.
Yeah.
Okay? Daily, plus Saturday, plus Sunday. They come...
Doing at the same time?
Okay, Sunday they will come and they will leave early and so on. But me, Sunday, you'll not see me at office. Saturday, you see me in office in the morning hours. At 1, I'm gone. There's nothing to do there. There's life after office, after work. So they give this guy my responsibilities. I am given his responsibilities. You could see people laughing. You could see people celebrating, saying that that guy's goose is cooked. And it actually was cooked in some way. Because I went and I thought I'm being unfairly treated here. And I can actually quit. What am I doing here?
Yeah.
I can actually quit. I cried. I remember crying. You know, a big man with beards crying. Did I have beards those days?
There's no problem with that.
Are you sure?
There's no problem with that.
Okay, fine.
Beards do not take away your emotional
beards and crying.
Beards they don't even have any way.
When is the last time you saw a man with beards crying? Yeah, there you go.
When was the last time? No, why is it hard for us to see it? Because society is conditioning them to reason as such.
Yeah.
But they're human beings.
That's it. I know, I get your point. But you see, I felt this is unfair. I felt like I can quit. But then something held me. I said, Lawrence, take the responsibility of this guy and put it into context with the abilities that you have.
Yeah.
I realized that this guy was doing analog stuff with things that can be done digitally. So I wrote to the client and I told the client we're going to change the way this report is being done. And I thank God for Safaricom because they were up to today, I think they're very flexible clients.
Oh, it was Safaricom that you wrote to?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I told them, let's change how this report is done. And they said, what we're going to do is they're going to send us the report and then we're going to discuss after you've presented to us how the changes you want to be incorporated.
Yeah.
And that was heaven for me because all I will do is to enter things into QuickBooks, and if I want a report, I just go to File, select the date ranges, print. You get your report.
Yeah.
Something that someone was doing the whole day and the whole weekend.
Different worksheets.
Long story short, I started leaving work early again. I started leaving work at 5, just like I used to.
Yeah.
He continued leaving work at 12. And the client was complaining about his work. Now it came clear in the boss's mind that, oh, this Lawrence guy, there's something about him. In fact, there was a particular point in time when the client was complaining about stuff, how we do our stuff, and they summoned me to their office.
Yeah.
And I took my laptop and with the database that I designed, and I showed them how I work.
Okay.
And they said, this is very organized. We need you to be coming here to Safaricom House and work with us maybe twice a week. When the boss heard this, she said, this is my employee. It's not going to happen that way.
Yeah.
Because she was looking for more money, something like that. But my point is that it came to the mind of the boss that this Lawrence guy
is not the problem.
Is not the problem, and is actually a worker. He's a productive guy. And mind you, it is that time that MTN Uganda is looking for a solution to their churn problem and to also start mobile money.
Yeah.
And now at the same time they offer this boss of opportunity to have a contract with them. Now she has a conundrum. She's got to send people to Uganda who can actually work.
Oh, yeah.
She looks into the organization, the whole structure of the organization. Actually, in the pecking order of that organization, I was, I think, number 53. In other words, if you started promoting people by merit, I will come under number 53.
Yeah.
So she looks in the organization, there is basically no one she can see, including the boss, my boss who had reported me.
Yeah.
That's how I ended up in Uganda. She calls me into the office in 2007, I think, to the whatever time it was, and she tells me the same thing, that okay, when she calls me, I was still under probation of the half salary. I thought, now my goose is cooked.
It's all gone.
It's time for the probation to end, and time for me to be sent home.
Yeah.
But now she tells me, Lawrence, there is an opportunity that's come for people to go to Uganda, and I wanted to send you. I don't know if you're going to accept. So much has been going on in your life. I don't know if you're going to accept, but this is it. So she gives me, from that moment on, let me tell you, I've never attended an interview up to today.
A job interview?
Even that wasn't an interview. It was a job offer.
Yeah.
It was an interview. That's why I told you earlier on that interviews are not what are conducted in boardrooms with an interview panel. It is what life conducts on a daily basis, depending on how you appear in life.
How life molds you and how you respond.
Yes. If you're being productive at some point in time, someone else somewhere is seeing and is watching. So so that is how I ended up coming to Uganda. Now, when I come to Uganda, my responsibility is to actually do what I said I could do earlier on, that I could do a better job than that manager.
Yeah.
Now as an expatriate, and that job included recruiting, interviewing, recruiting, and managing a team of 50 people across the country.
Yeah.
Now, again, I have a policy of making sure that everything you've been given to do, you do it with the utmost. So it was a heavy responsibility. I'd never done it before.
Yeah.
So I needed to start researching on how to manage people, how to motivate people,
that
how
was
to treat people. 2008, 2009 now.
Yeah.
How to manage people and so on. And
was that kind of information readily available?
That kind of information was not
it
readily
easy to
available.
find?
It was easy to find on the internet.
Really?
Yeah.
It was already there on the internet.
It was there on the internet. So I started digging in, and from out of the blue, I did not know that there was an industry called coaching industry. So I went into the internet, and I think one of the things that came out of the internet was Success Magazine. I learned quite a bit of information about managing people, motivating people, inspiring people from Success Magazine. And I realized, hey, wait a minute. I love doing this.
Yeah.
I love inspiring people. That's how I ended up deciding that I'm going to do this for life as a life coach, because I found so much inspiration in it. I found so much fulfillment in helping someone else set their life in order.
Yeah.
And now I
mean, your life story itself, like.
Yeah, yeah. To such an extent, but that even when it came to recruiting, given that I am a guy who did not have a degree, I actually recruited some guys who did not have degrees, quite a bit of them.
Yeah.
And I found out something interesting, that some of those guys actually perform much better than the guys who normally have degrees. Most of them, you can even say that.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up transitioning from MIS
to being a life coach.
Yeah. Now, purpose came on.
You first went into life coach?
I first went to life coach, where I was just teaching people basically about everything, about goals, about vision, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But I was so intrigued about, I think maybe it might have come from the angle of missing out on university and so on. Because one of the questions that I used to ask myself a lot is, God, why on earth am I here?
Yeah.
And so through the life coaching thing, it started merging into purpose. When I discovered my purpose in 2010. I discovered my purpose while I was here in 2010. So I decided that let me also teach other people about purpose. That's how I transitioned from MIS to purpose coach. Long story, one question. I'm sorry.
So we're talking about life purpose coaching.
Yeah.
And you have a book already out on discovering purpose.
Yeah.
for the person that has interacted with millennials, what is it that you find us struggling with when it comes to discovering purpose?
I think for the most, it's not just millennials.
Yeah.
Because what I've found out in my craft, in my work, is that it's not just millennials who are struggling. Actually, their parents. Or the generation before.
Some millennials are parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Generations before the millennials. You know why? It's the conditioning that we came up with. The society.
Yeah.
What the society is fronting is academics. And the society doesn't care whether you are naturally an academician, naturally intellectual, an intellectual person who has the ability to cram things and to learn, a book person.
Yeah.
The society doesn't care. The society has actually said that for you to be successful, you have to go to school, you have to qualify, you have to be interviewed, and you have to work in a job.
Yeah.
Now the mentality is that way even up to today. Even the generations that are coming up, the mentality is still the same.
Yeah.
And to me, it is the biggest conundrum. It is the status quo. To answer your question, the biggest problem for millennials in discovering their purpose, it is status quo.
Yeah.
Because you find a millennial who is so gifted, so naturally gifted at some things, not utilizing that gift and that talent because your gift is a hint to your purpose.
Right.
Not utilizing it because they are waiting for someone to employ them because they have a degree. Or they are basically trying to hustle. Yeah, they're trying to hustle in life because they did not have a degree.
Yeah.
And they overlook the issue of their purpose. They overlook the issue of their natural gifts and their natural talents. So I would say that's the biggest problem. The biggest problem I fight when it comes to teaching people how to discover their purpose is status quo.
So almost going to how they see me, how do I jump out of what society dictates.
Yeah.
And now you talked about somewhere on your podcast, you had something about thinking, immersing ourselves in thinking so that we discover our purposes. Can you take us through that to really understand how it really works for a listener right now? How would they go into their thinking mode for them to be able to discover their purpose?
Purpose discovery has got to be deliberate.
Someone has to want to do it.
You must want to do it, and even when you want to do it, you've got to engage your thoughts, you've got to engage your heart. There's got to be some reviewing that you're doing, some looking at themes in your life. Thinking has got to be there.
Yeah.
Deliberate, intentional thinking has got to be there. So if you wanted to discover your purpose, first of all, you need to know that it's not arbitrary. And I'm going to address probably guys who are coming from the faith religion.
Yeah.
Because there's this aspect of religion where people think that God has got to reveal to them through a prophet.
Oh, through a prophet.
You understand? Or through a burning bush dream vision. And actually it happens through visions and dreams. Okay?
How is that?
You can easily connect and so on. But that's a big topic which we shouldn't delve into. They people think that purpose is outside of them, and someone else has got to bring it to them, which is wrong. Purpose is inside of you, and it's unearthed to you through a process of thought. So this is how it works. The first thing that you've got to do is to make a conscious decision to want to know what it is.
Yeah.
As in you make a decision.
Like, what is my purpose? Or like what you talked about earlier when you're asking God, why am I here?
Why am I here? It has got to be deliberate. Not just these things that you're asking when, you've got to be deliberate that I want to be on a quest of discovering my purpose. That means you're going to engage your mind, you're going to engage your thoughts.
Yeah.
Now, after you've done that one can be done any moment. And by the way, it works with just about anything. If you wanted to be a lawyer, you've got to decide. It doesn't happen by fluke.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to, if you want to buy a car, you've got to decide. You're not going to start driving a car before
We're going into the process discovery.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you've got to decide. The second thing is that you must, in order to engage your mind, you must of course, go on an inquest. You've got to start searching. Now, the searching has to do with thinking. You sit down and you ask probing, deliberate questions.
The hows.
The hows. The why not? How come? What is this gift doing in my life?
Yeah.
You know, so the thinking has got to be there. And I think the guy who sits down to deliberately think, maybe 15 minutes, 30 minutes a day, they tend to become more purposeful than guys who just go through life just walking through their motions.
When you talk about deliberate thinking, what is deliberate thinking? Because someone might imagine that sitting there and just thinking, it would constitute to deliberate thinking that is going to help them discover their purpose. So when you talk about deliberate thinking, can you paint for us that picture of what it's like?
Yeah, so for me, deliberate thinking is simply, first of all, intending to set aside some time specifically to deliberate over some issues of your life.
Yeah.
As in, it is deliberate. There is, let's say, 15 minutes has been set aside or 30 minutes has been set aside specifically to consider, to review, to analyze aspects related to your life. Maybe aspects of finances.
Yeah.
Maybe aspects of what dreams, what goals, what the future holds. That, you know, just basically about your life, so to speak. You assess yourself. You look at how things have gone, how things can go, how things you want them to go. You do it on a deliberate basis for yourself. And let me tell you this, we know how to do this.
Yeah.
But we do this for companies. We do this in our jobs. We just don't do it for our own lives. So the same thing, we sit down to start crafting. If you're a salesman and someone has given you a quota, you're supposed to bring 2 billion in this quarter.
Yeah.
As a salesperson, what are you going to do? Is it going to come by fluke? You're going to sit down and strategize and think.
Yeah.
But we do that for sales. The same thing we do it for sales, we can do it for our own individual lives.
Yeah.
That is the deliberate thinking I'm talking about. It has an end game at the end of the day, that this is the quality of life that I want to live. These are the inputs that I have. What can happen? What are the doors that need to be connected? Who can help? Who are the mentors here?
Yeah.
How come I did wrong there? How am I utilizing my time, my day, my week? You're basically planning, you're strategizing. That is the deliberate thinking I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
it has two characteristics. You have set aside some time and some space for it to happen. And you're actually doing it. And you are writing some things down and so on. There is a process that you've done. There is an output to the thinking. Yeah.
Now you went as far as, now I'm going to keep referring to your podcast at some point. You went as far as talking about how parents, because you've talked about the parents of the past generations, although I really focus on, the millennial kind of parenting, because we are the ones who are going to change the system that we found.
Yeah.
You talked about how parents don't allow their children to think. How can we change that as millennial parents, as people that are going to change our society or the status quo that has already affected us? How are we going to, as products of the status quo, how do we then come out of it to help the children?
It starts with realization, and I don't know why we maybe blind to the truth, because we are in the quote-unquote corporate world, we are in the work environment. We see what works, we see what doesn't work, and we know for sure that the life that our parents themselves lived is not as compared to ours.
Yeah.
Them, the status quo worked for them.
Yeah.
They finished their Form 4, they got a job. They finish a diploma, they have a job.
Yeah.
Actually, they are booked before they can even clear. For us, it's totally different. It is not working. So millennial parents should just realize it is not working. The status quo is no longer working. The first thing you can do is look at statistics. How many guys graduate in Uganda in 1 year? hundreds of thousands. You're talking about universities and colleges, hundreds of thousands. How many of those are employed? A very small fraction. That tells you that it is not working. And by the way, next year,
of how many are unemployed.
Next year, another 100,000 are graduating. I mean, things are not working, but we keep churning the 100,000. Same system.
Right.
We are churning 100,000 every year, and the system ain't working. It is clogged. But let me tell you, in the very place where the system is not working, there is something else that is working.
Yeah.
Which is what our friend Nirere is talking about, solution thinkers.
Solution thinking.
Solution thinking is actually connected to purpose.
Yeah.
Because you can find a guy who is gifted with a voice, just a voice. And we are living in this day and in this age where it is easy for guys to use their gifts and their talents to become professionals, to become experts, and to actually transform this world and earn from those things. We're living in an environment where it's possible to do that.
Yeah.
So the other environment, millennial parents need to realize that the status quo is no longer working. And now they need to start changing their thoughts. And by the way, one of the reasons as to why it's not working, you realize that Google, IBM, Apple, all these big time organizations, they are no longer requiring someone to have a degree to get into the organization.
Yeah.
As long as someone can think critically, can provide a solution, you come on board.
Come up with a product.
Yes. That is where the world is going today.
Yeah.
The world is going on relevance and solution thinking and functionality other than I crammed these things in school. The world wants people who can, act as if they co-own the business with you, not just employees.
Yeah.
So parents need to start raising people who are thinking in that manner. And it is not going to happen with the school system.
Okay.
It is actually not happening with the school system. We hear in Kenya they're talking about competency-based curriculum. Even in Uganda they're talking about competency-based curriculum.
They're talking about it for a long time.
They're talking about it for a very long time.
Yeah.
But they're not changing the system. The system for competency is the same.
I mean, even after the lockdown, you'd imagine
it is the same.
There's a change
it is
that would be
the curriculum. The change of the curriculum has got to be in terms of the content and also in terms of the practicality.
Yeah.
But before it is changed, our parents or millennial parents, they have got to change something at home.
At home, exactly.
At home.
Yeah.
They've got to change something at home.
Yeah.
Woe to you if your child is 7 years of age and they can't wash a cup.
Yeah.
And you're raising someone who is supposed to work in this day and in this age. There are no jobs. The normal, traditional jobs, they are not there. But there are very many opportunities for people who can get their hands dirty, so to speak.
Yeah.
And they use their minds and they use their abilities to do something to solve a problem. So parents have got to start teaching the children from home, and they've got to start coaching them and discipling them, so to speak, to start earning from home.
Yeah.
This idea of people, it's
grow
like
up and get a job.
Yes,
What do you want to be? You don't want to be a doctor?
You've been told that you can't earn until someone has given you a job.
Yeah.
The mentality of earning has got to start from home, where a kid knows that, I can clean daddy's car and daddy can pay me. Or I can create some stuff. I see some kids doing this. A friend of mine has kids. We are in a leadership group, and sometimes we meet once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
And when we come together, he comes with his kids.
Okay.
The kids have created crafts, and they're actually selling those crafts to us. And they have their own personal banks, and they're monitoring. Kids have got to start being taught about money, about work, for themselves at home.
You reminded me how I charged my uncle when he asked me to dance for him.
Yeah, by the way.
There's a time when I joked with him. I was like, do you know that you're the first person who gave me a job? Yeah, because every evening when I was on holiday at his place, every evening when he would return from work, he would switch on the radio and he would ask me to dance. But at some point I was like, man, you have to pay. I can't keep doing this. So I'd get 100 shilling every evening, and the following day I would buy Importer. You didn't know importer.
Yeah, I know it's fish.
Oh, at least you know that. Uganda isn't so bad. Yeah, I would buy importer, but it was like a bowl that would create.
The one that has been fried already?
Yeah, I was on a wage system. I was paid daily for
dancing. Nice. But you see...
But no one, they didn't really push me into it. Yeah, I asked for pay, I got the pay, but...
Let me tell you something about me.
Yeah.
I told you already that I knew I could write at 10 or so.
Yeah.
And people would just jostle for the second position when we're given creative writing exercises. That is the moment that gift, that talent should have been taken seriously. Instead of wanting Lawrence to go all the way and to university and so on. What is the gift for writing doing with a 10-year-old? And we have parents who have kids who have some gifts like dancing, like swimming, whatever it is.
Yeah, and
we've got to start making sure that these things are not being taken for granted.
Yeah.
That they are being taken, they are being nurtured, they are being harnessed right now. And on one hand, and then on the other hand, parents, millennial parents, need to start teaching kids about transforming the society, because that's where the money is. The money is not in jobs. The money is in solution thinking, it's in transforming society. So you're raising kids just cramming biology, Lamarck's theory. You know what Lamarck's theory is in biology? Did you do biology? You see, you've forgotten.
What point?
Yeah. I see you've forgotten Lamarck's theory.
Depends. I don't think we did that.
You did.
Our curriculum is different from Kenya's. Go away. Why would we be doing theories
Y
in
chromosomes?
biology? Yeah.
X chromosomes?
Yeah. I know that.
Yeah.
Lamarck's theory? Why would you be doing theories in biology?
Platelets?
Yeah, I know that. Go. Why that's in blood? Go.
So how are you using platelets right now?
How am I using them?
Yeah.
They're helping me with when I get a wound. That's what comes up.
Are you earning from blood, knowing what blood platelets are?
I know how to protect myself. I wouldn't really make noise.
So there is a part for having that particular knowledge. But you're talking about transforming society and actually earning from the transformation that we're bringing. And it's not necessarily going to be something that is coming out of the education system. And by the way, no one should actually come after my neck saying that I am bashing the education system. I am not. Actually, the education system has opened up opportunities for millions of people, billions of people around the world.
Yeah.
The problem is it is not the only solution. As we progress in years, it is proven that it is not the only solution.
It's not the key to success.
It is not the key to success anymore. It is not a silver bullet.
Okay, no. I think we did that wrong, because they say education is the key to success, right?
Yeah.
What kind of education? They had to specify. They had to specify, because I think even solution thinking is education. Yeah, right.
When you think education of something that has to deal with examinations, and the other day I was telling my wife, I have not sat for an examination in 2 decades. And she said, lucky you, because she's sitting for an exam, music exams and so on and so forth. Our thinking has got to change. There is a place for those examinations and degrees and diplomas. There's a place.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, a kid should be able to earn even before they graduate, even before they get into high school. It should be in the system that I am transforming society with whatever brain I have, whatever gift, whatever talent I have. And let it grow through. Let education be used to add the capacity to what transformation the kid is doing.
Yeah.
Not the other way, that, I'm preparing this kid for the future generation. You think about the future, and the kid is here and now. I read a quote yesterday saying that kids are not things to be molded.
Okay.
They are people to be unfolded.
Nice.
You get?
Nice.
That is what a millennial parent needs. You need to look at your kid right now and you're thinking,
how do I unfold
this guy? You understand?
Little human.
You don't abdicate your responsibility of parenting to the school system that, have paid school fees. The teacher of English and mathematics is going to deal with that. No, you need to look at your kid and asking, what is so unique about this guy? Consider your child as an ambassador from heaven, has been sent on this earth to represent heaven and to transform this world in one way or another.
Yeah.
And start raising them from that angle. And that one will free you. Someone was asking me, I think it was this guy of RX Radio, James Onen. I was interviewing me on his show. He asked me, something about my kids. We're talking about education system and so on, and said me, if your kid comes and brings you a bad report, you know those reports they normally bring at the end of the term. If he brought you a bad report, will you be happy? That was a trick question. That's what he asked me. And I told him, for me, actually, if my kid has done the best that they can do, and they come last in class, I have no problem.
I think I would be a terrible parent because...
Why?
I'm a fake parent. My niece came with her report card one time.
Yeah.
Much as I was disappointed, it was funny at some point because I was like, I know my mom, okay, I think I carry it from my mom because there are times when I would perform really well.
Yeah. And
then I think other days I'll be like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't perform well. So the only question she would ask on VDs would be, what happened this time? Yeah. It wasn't a place of, how dare you do this? Much as while I was in class with people that had performed poorer or people that had performed better than I had performed, they'd be so scared, like, oh my God, my parent is coming, she's going to kill me. They'd be like, man, I've taken long without seeing my mother. I want to see my mom. So I think she gave me space of, you can improve. She would always ask, what is the problem? What was the challenge? Don't you really understand? She would go as far as the teachers and that kind of thing. So when my niece brought her paper, her report card, I looked at it as like,
she not scored.
She hadn't scored, and then I was trying to look. So where is she best? And then they were all average, and the science as well. She had zeros, and then my mother was like, so you didn't do this exam? And I really want to learn how to be serious in serious times, because why would she ask that question? She was like, so you didn't do this exam? And she was like, no, I didn't miss any exam. I did all the exams. So mom was like, how long is your exam? Like, 2.5 hours. So you sat for 2.5 hours.
And you came out with nothing.
Only 7? I'm like, oh my God, mommy. I laughed so much to a point that my niece was no longer scared. She started laughing because mom was making it look like this is impossible. This can't happen.
But
I think parents need to be able to laugh at. Okay, not laugh in embarrassing the child. But hey, you have time to improve. And then when she brought back her report card, the following term, she was really scared. And I looked at it. There was improvement, and I asked her, "What do you see?" And then she was like, "I can do better." I'm like, "No, what do you see?" What do you see? Like, I know I can do better. I was like, don't you think that you improved? And then that's when she smiled. She was like, yes, I do. You see, for me, my answer to James was, to be honest with you, I am not necessarily looking at my kid topping class at all times. If he does that, then that's fine. I'm looking at my kid doing the absolute best that he's capable of doing. Because I know at the bottom of the day, at the end of the day, the bottom line is that there are some guys, honestly, there's some people who cannot make it academically. We know them. It's a very sorry story of a guy that I was in Form 2 with, a brother to the biology teacher. This guy, Lord have mercy on us, this guy brought him to that school on the auspices of the brother. So the brother is the one who is marking the biology examination. Actually, it's a continuous assessment test. This guy goes into, in Kenya we used to call it transnighting. He's basically reading biology. Call it banging winter.
Yes. The whole night. You with coffee and so on. The whole night. You guys, you are asleep. The guy is reading bio. And this is not the main exam. This is a continuous assessment test for some things that you've just done maybe a few weeks ago. It's not a lot of information that is going to be examined. And he sits the whole night trying to study. When the exams come, he has a good zero. A zero.
Not even one.
Not even one. He tried.
Man, that's not just a zero.
He tried.
That's like 2 zeros.
He tried. But didn't he try?
Man, he did.
He tried, but the problem is that is not where he's supposed to succeed in life. He is not an academician. He's not an academically gifted person. You understand?
Academically gifted.
No, he's not. You could find that he's good at some other things in life, and those things can actually transform society.
But not academics.
But not academics. There's a guy, I think it's called Howard Gardner, who came up with that theory. He's a professor at Harvard in the 80s. He came up with a theory called the 9 intelligences, something like that, saying that we all are intelligent in different ways.
Yeah.
There are some guys who are intelligent in mathematics, and those reasons. There are some guys who are intelligent in linguistics. They can speak. That is their intelligence. There are some guys who are kinesthetically intelligent, as in sports. They can do sports and so on and so forth. There are some guys who are good at art. There are some guys who can see landscapes, and some guys who can come into your house and they can see where the design should go. That is an intelligence.
Yeah.
But our problem is that we are examining only linguistics and mathematical intelligences only. That was his theory. And that's what I can tell the millennial parents today. Go and look for that material, and actually it's gathered a lot of ground, a lot of mileage this decades. The 9 intelligence, I think it's the 9 intelligence, but the guy is called Howard Gardner. Gather that information and start looking at your kid and asking yourself, how intelligent is this guy? There's another guy. That question that I've just mentioned is a very powerful question.
Yeah.
There's another guy called Ken Robinson, I think Ken Robinson, something like that. He died. He's an educationist. He says the question to ask is not, is my kid intelligent?
Is my kid intelligent?
That is not the question to ask.
How is my kid intelligent?
That is the question to ask. How intelligent is... I nearly said your other name. How intelligent is Nabuguzi Kiwanuka? How intelligent is she? Because there's an answer to that. But if you ask, is she intelligent? Chances are it's a binary. Either yes or no. And if it's no, then that's no success for that particular person.
Yeah.
You understand? But if you ask, how intelligent is she? Then you start Googling and start looking at various possibilities. She's very good at talking to people.
Yeah.
There's a guy who says that there's a particular employee that he has who is so gifted at doing administrative work that the moment that lady he fired the lady. When he fired the lady, the organization started going down. He realized he fired a genius.
Yeah.
You understand? Our millennial parents should start looking at solution providing, start looking at how differently intelligent people are. Because actually, all the millennial parents should just draw a line in the sand and know that their kids are intelligent. The question is,
how are they intelligent?
Yes. Now find how they are, and the earlier we find out this, the better. If they knew I was intelligent in writing at 10, that is what we should have focused on. Pour all the information, all the resources towards that end. Let me tell you, right now, without bragging, in the past 2 or so years, I have earned from my skill of writing much more than I've earned from the management information systems that I did
2 years.
In the past 2 years. I have earned so much from my skill of writing alone, which means I can be a proof of concept that if at 10 years of age I knew I could write and they knew I could write, that's what they should have fronted and help me, go into writing, up my writing skills, writing schools and so on and so forth. I can write for myself, I can write for other people and so on and so forth, and let me transform the society. One of the things that I do today is to make sure that people who have a message and they do not have the skills for writing can have a book, and I earn from it.
Yeah.
And I did not need to have a degree for that to happen. If the degree could have been there, it's fine, it's okay. But if the degree we're looking for is just a degree so that, my father can say that I have 4 kids in the house, who have degrees.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
You understand?
So he has status in society.
Yeah. That's
social
what
status.
That's what millennial parents need to run away from. Looking at social status in society, that my child has a degree.
It's actually a burden on the child.
It's a burden on the child.
You're actually doing a disservice.
Yeah. So
because now you've talked about how parents have to be really involved, and I'm looking at a parent who is doing an 8 to 5.
Yeah.
And possibly by the time you have to get off work at what time?
Maybe 5,
right? So that you beat the traffic
jam.
And then maybe in the evening you go through the traffic and you're there at home at possibly 9. You barely see the child, and then
it's so now that's where it's a sorry thing to say, but thank God, thank God there is a solution.
Yeah,
that's where people like Shamim Nerere come in.
Is our education.
That's where people like Lawrence Namale come in, because if you cannot necessarily be with your kids and you can disciple them in a way that they can be relevant in the modern job market and in the modern society, in the modern gig economy society, there are people who are in those spaces who are offering solutions. So look for those guys, all right? And by the way, start with yourself as a parent,
because you can't preach what you don't understand.
Yes, you can't lead where you've not been. So start with yourself as a parent to have this consciousness. Yeah, are you as a parent setting goals? At least you can teach your child to set goals, because goal setting is one of the most critical aspects of life today, and the whole school system, I dare you, show me where they teach it.
Nowhere.
They don't teach goal setting. They don't teach thinking. Actually, by the way, I'm going to start an online class about thinking. They don't teach people how to think. What the school system teaches people is how to cram stuff, to pour in stuff into their lives, and people are not alive. Go to any system, any gathering today of people who are 30 years and above and so on, and they are seated there, and ask them to ask you a question. That is how you know if we have thinkers or not. Many people are not going to ask you. Many people are not going to ask you a question. If they are going to ask you a question, it's going to be a very stupid question, so to speak, that has an obvious answer. People are not thinkers. But so the parent who is doing an 8 to 5, first of all, there are some small aspects here that you can start teaching your kid from home. About goal setting, about being responsible by and of themselves, and start looking at ways in which you can recruit other people to come into your home,
your child's
or
life.
into their child's life, and start also adding some other angles. Don't depend on school. Schools, sorry to say, schools have competition. First of all, they have to churn out the best students.
And by best, it's about the marks.
And if they are churning out the best student, then they're going to attract the best, and then they're going to charge them more. You get. So unfortunately, sorry to say, but unfortunately, there is a bit of competition and money making in the school system.
Of course.
It is not about nurturing guys necessarily. So that's why the home has got to be transformed into another place where kids are being augmented with different kinds of information that it can be relevant for them. And I'm insisting
something that can stimulate their brain.
Exactly. I'm insisting, let the parents start teaching these kids to earn money, legitimate money. And start tracking that money, start saving that money. Because when a kid starts seeing what they can do to earn money, then they can start looking at the ground zero of their gifts and talents and see how they can be able to churn it around to earn something. If the school system can add on to it, well and good.
Coming away from the parents, or rather the children, we have parents that are supposed to help their kids in the process of discovering their purpose. In the process of purpose discovery. But then we have a parent who has possibly not discovered their purpose. And then it becomes really hard. How do you then help?
Yeah.
An adult? Because now we've even come to media, right? I mean, people possibly set out resolutions, and now we're anticipating another lockdown.
Yeah.
And possibly they want to throw away all the resolutions that they had set, the goals.
Yeah.
How does someone help themselves to discover their purpose in this turbulent system right now?
Yeah. You see, we have an answer that has always helped people, and the problem is, again, we are having to contend with the status quo. Mm-hmm. I've always said this, and I can say it again. It can take you not more than 15 minutes to zero in on a semblance of what your vision is.
Okay.
If you are serious about it, if you really want to know what it is. Scripture tells us, ask, it shall be given, seek and you shall find, knock and the door shall be open.
Yeah.
I find that people don't ask, people don't seek, people don't knock. But for those who are going to ask, for those who are going to start asking, actually, those who are going to start knocking and to start seeking, the answer is immediately apparent. The answer is going to be there. So if you're there and probably you do not know what your purpose in life is, how bad do you want to know?
How bad?
Again, it's like, I love how God operates. God gives you everything, but it's up to you to decide you want it. Because he says, I give you life or death, choose whichever it is that you want. So I'm thinking a guy who will sit down and he would want to badly know what on earth am I doing here and what's my purpose. The degree of their hunger will determine the speed of the realization of the answer. The answer might come from listening to a podcast, from getting to read a book, from attending an online class, whatever it is, but it is determined by their hunger, how they are going to engage in that quest. So let them decide. Let people decide. Those ones who want, and let them go through the journey. And we are here to help.
You are here to help.
Coach,
life purpose coach. You have somewhere in your book where you talk about process. And how, we're living in an instantaneous system right now. I mean, back then you would write a letter. To
a
someone.
love letter.
It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a love letter.
Why are you so against love?
No, you're limiting it. It can be any kind of letter. So you're writing a letter to someone who is possibly in the UK, and you have to wait for I don't know how many months. I've not experienced it, but I imagine it used to take a very long time. And then you have to wait for a response, and possibly I think that process is going to go through 2 months. Here we are, the generation of instantaneous things.
Instant messaging.
I was very surprised. Now let me tell you how I discovered WhatsApp. I was at campus. You see those button phones that we had? I had one, and people were talking about smartphones, and I didn't see the purpose. Like, who cares about smartphones? I mean, I have my calls that I've subscribed for a week. I have 1,000 messages. I can reach anyone. So my friends had smartphones, and then we had a friend in South Africa, a mutual friend. So she texted, and she responded immediately, and I was like,
was it Viber or it was WhatsApp?
WhatsApp. And I was like, that really happens? Let me try. So I texted, and the girl responded. I was like, for real? Like in the instant, I was like, for real? And there's no airtime involved. It's like, no, it's like, what? So life has become very easy for us. And somehow, we don't know these things, but it sits on our subconscious. We imagine that we want, everything has to come on the instant. I mean, if I say I like a girl and she doesn't come through, then that's her problem. I have to jump onto another one. We don't get to
What do you mean jump onto another one? Okay.
Shut up. You're such a West, by the way. But you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, and then, we want things on the instant. We don't accept process. And I like the fact that you highlighted this in your book.
Yeah.
So when it comes to purpose discovery, can you've talked about, I think I've already talked about the instantaneous part of things.
Yeah,
so I feel like I've already answered the question.
Yeah, but there is a process in purpose discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you that one of the reasons as to why people do not discover their purpose is because they do not know how it can be done and so on. There is no one single way of doing it. Mm-hmm. There is no one single way of discovering your purpose. But as far as Lawrence is concerned, I've crystallized what I call an 8 milestone process that you can go through in discovering, owning, and deploying that particular purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's not a Moses burning bush experience, Samson and parents and
tapping the rock and water comes.
No.
Yeah.
It's gotta be a process, and the process I can break down for you with the acrostic discover.
Mm-hmm.
That is the word discover. Each letter represents a process. So the first process is decision. Decide.
Mm-hmm.
We've already talked about that.
You
don't decide, forget it.
Mm-hmm.
God is not going to decide that for you. That's why people are waiting on God, to discover what their purpose is, and they have not decided they want to do. God will tell me. He's not going to tell you.
They're waiting for the angel.
He's not going to tell you.
Here it
is. He's not going to tell you.
Yeah.
God is waiting for you to decide, make a decision. You see, God gave us a brain to think. I had a guy, an Australian billionaire, one of my mentors. He said, if at one point in time they discover how to do brain surgery, oh God, how I pray they give me the brain of a Christian. You know why? Because those guys don't think. It's fresh, it's unused.
Oh, not all of them.
Not all of them. But my problem is, my point is that at some point in time, you can become so religious that you don't even think. You think that things are on God's plate, and yet they are on your plate. It's God is waiting for you to make a decision.
Yeah.
Once you make a decision, things start moving. It is in the moment of decision making that destinies are shaped. That's Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Now, after you've made a decision, the second step in the process is basically to go on an inquest, to start looking for where it is.
Yeah.
And you start looking from yourself, start looking from feedback that you've gotten in life. People are praising you. Oh, you're such a good talker. You're such a good singer. That's feedback. It's not useless feedback. It's a hint. What is it doing? Why did God put it in there in the first place?
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, if you're building a car, you're going to put a steering wheel on the car, and you're going to put wheels on the car. For what purpose? There's a purpose as to why it's fitted with those particular things. The same thing with your gifts and your talents. They are supposed to coalesce into something. So you go to an inquest trying to find out, what do I have? You do your own SWOT analysis, you do your own asking of your gifts and your talents, you go to these personality profiles that people normally do all over the place. Am I a C? Am I a G? Am I a D? Am I an I?
I'm not so sure.
What kind of personality do I have? What kind of gifts and talents do I? So you go do an inquest. But when you do an inquest, for sure you're going to get an answer. This is where now the life becomes exciting. You got to be a steward to the few answers that you've got.
Yeah.
For example, if your gift, Lawrence, at 10 years is writing, steward that writing. Steward it. We do a lot of stewardship in our lives today, but in the wrong things. You find someone who is, and I keep giving an example of someone who is in the bank, and those guys in the bank are actually good guys. Someone who is sitting as a teller in the bank, he's stewarding, but he's gifted at art, for example. He's not stewarding the art, he's stewarding something else, which is wrong. So stewardship means that the answers you found from the inquest, you start doing those things. If you've gotten feedback that you can be able to sing, baby, sing. If you can write, if you can I don't know, do gymnastics, do that stuff, however weird it is. And that's the key word, by the way. Because purpose is not supposed to be status quo. It's not supposed to be common. It's not supposed to be generally accepted. It can be very extremely weird, like Wangari Maathai, the Kenyan Nobel laureate, who was planting trees. Who on earth plants trees? For what purpose?
For the climate,
you
environment.
Get, you understand. And at the end of the day, the world recognized that, hey, look, there's something in what she was doing. But she was being fought all along. Even with the president of the whole country. So be a steward of your purpose, or your gifts and your talents. But then, after you've been a steward for quite a bit of time, there's going to come, it starts concretizing itself. It comes to a level where we call convergence, isn't it? It converges into something that you can say, oh, for sure, I think this is where I reside, this is where I get my fulfillment, this is where I am good at, this is where my purpose interacts with the world, transforms the world, this is what I think I can do for the rest of my life. That is what we call convergence. So you understand that from now on, this is it. Or I'm going to be giving 80% of my time to this. Or when my name comes up, people associate me with this. That is what we call convergence. But the convergence has got to go into the next step, which is ownership. Ownership means that you are actually accepting, yes, I am a singer, yes, I am a writer. And you're going to tell people, I am a singer, I am a writer. You're not going to tell people, I have a degree in mathematics. So what? What have you converged on, and what have you owned as your purpose? So if, by the way, if you don't own purpose, it's not going to stick on you. You're going to be a general guy, just going about life and so on, floating around life, doing anything. The problem with ownership, let me tell you the problem with ownership. The problem with ownership is the balancing between putting food on the table and doing your purpose. So you find people doing a lot of things that put food on the table, which has its place, but they're not doing anything about owning their purpose, as in sanctifying or separating themselves apart to do their purpose. You go to their social media channels, you don't see their purpose in there. They have not owned it. They have not owned their purpose. If you go to someone's social media channel and on their Facebook, for example, and you see they are passionate about something, you see that this person has owned this. There are guys, but there's a guy who has owned his thing about dogs. You just go to his page and he's dogs all over the place. You get, he's owned it, he's showing it to the people. So ownership, and then this is now the exciting part about your purpose, because your purpose is not just for you. Your purpose is supposed to serve the humans. It's supposed to serve the environment, transform
society.
How does it do it? It does it when you have value added onto it, which means, okay, your purpose is in working with words. You're a writer. You've converged onto that. What value are you adding? So you create products and services that are coming from that particular purpose, so that you can serve society. Society interacts with your purpose from products and services, not from you saying, this is my vision. It has got to be practical. So look for things that society can interact with. So for example, Lawrence, his purpose, people are interacting with Lawrence's purpose in terms of the books I'm writing, in terms of the online courses I'm generating, and so on and so forth.
And the podcast.
There's got to be something that people interact with. All right. So that's value addition. But then the other step of your purpose discovery is what I call endurance, because purpose is not something that you do today. The biggest problem with us is we are living our lives in a period of 30 days. Because in 30 days we're going to be paid and we're going to pay our bills. And we repeat that process for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and we think we've been living, but we've just been repeating a period of 30 days. But purpose is actually longer than 30 days. Actually, the biggest reason as to why people don't discover their purpose and don't want to do their purpose is because it takes long to mature. It takes longer than a month, longer than a year to mature.
It's a process.
It's a process, a long process. So you've got to stay with it. Okay, you've got to stay with it. If you look at how Apple was formed, Apple went through a process, a long process. And in the process, by the way, there is failure, there is disillusionment, there is darkness, there is doubting. The other day, you guys were talking about
self-sabotage.
Self-sabotage. You're also talking about this syndrome.
Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome. You're thinking, am I really get serious with this? You know, you're thinking I shouldn't do this. That is part of the process.
The worst enemy, man.
Yeah, it is part of the process, but you stay with it. You stay with it. But then the last part of purpose discovery for me, which is absolutely key, is to make sure that you have branches, which I talk about releasing, as in making sure that your purpose doesn't die with you. At least you have a team that is going to work with you on that particular purpose.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you are not there, the work is good, because the reason for purpose is transformation of the universe. Yeah. And you cannot transform the universe or the society without a team
on your own,
or without branches. Or when you die, then that's ending. See, that's the problem with a job, because when you die, have you ever seen these things, by the way? Someone dies and then tomorrow has been replaced, or you see the advert of that guy's position. You cannot do that with purpose. And by the way, with purpose, there's no retirement. Why would you retire? By the way, when you talk about retirement, there are guys who normally retire and in a space of 10 years they are dead at 70.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing they are doing. So purpose has got to be perpetual, and that's why the last step is releasing it, mentoring other people to do the exact same thing that you have started, and the guys who are passionate about it, not just anyone who wants to earn, but guys who want, it's a cause, it's a reason for your existence. It is why you were sent on the face of the earth. I don't think we were sent here, honestly, to come and pay bills and die. There's got to be something greater than that in life. Yeah, we can have the adventures and so on and so forth, but let me tell you, have you ever realized that sometimes you crave for something? Oh God, if I can only get the car, and then the car comes, and you're like, okay,
what next?
Was that all there is to life? It is because we were wired to do purpose. We only get fulfillment and satisfaction when we lock our hands onto the purpose of our lives. You do it, even if they don't pay you, you are satisfied, you get fulfillment out of it. But we are talking about making sure that purpose turns into profit. Because again, people normally think that purpose is a spiritual thing. Actually, I'm debating with some guy on WhatsApp today, because I posted my podcast, which is talking about converting your purpose into profit. He comes and tells me, Lawrence, where does it say in the Bible that purpose is supposed to be turned into profit? That is another misconception.
No.
You get my point? It's the status quo mentality I was talking about.
But I have a problem with people that argue with the Bible all the time, because you know what? I once asked someone, why are you bathing? Is there any point where they say Jesus went to bathe?
They can get a scripture in the Bible that talks about cleaning and bathing. But my point is this, because and we need to, well, actually you need to have a talk about that. It's a very big topic, because people normally think that spirituality is woo-woo, invisible, and doesn't convert into practical things.
Man, people
and I've told people for very many times, I've said that for me, I think the highest level of spirituality is work.
Yeah.
When you're working, you're actually being spiritual.
I mean,
spirituality is not lifting hands and worshiping God and speaking in tongues. It has its place. Actually, I think worshiping God and speaking in tongues and so on is building yourself up so that you can work and become effective.
Yeah.
So a spiritual person is someone who is actually working. And I think at the end of the day...
but wait.
Yeah.
No.
What?
You had a backup answer to that.
What backup answer?
The talents that had to be multiplied.
Yeah, I told the guy.
Oh yeah? I thought you didn't find that.
I told the guy. I was
going to be disappointed.
I told the guy about the parable of the talents and so on and so forth. But anyway, if you go in that angle, there are very many scriptures you can be able to quote. But I don't think, when you're having a mentality that you shouldn't earn from something that is spiritual, then you are becoming a super spiritual person.
The prophets are counting money, they're driving Range Rovers.
Yeah. But they should earn it legally,
I know you've helped us go through the process of discovering our purpose.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important that because you have a book talking about this process of purpose discovery, and how does someone get in touch with you to find these books? Do they have to reach you directly, or can they purchase the books somewhere else?
They can reach me directly. My number 771
0771
23.
They have to be sure you're actually Kenyan. So which code are they using?
No. They're just using the Ugandan.
The Ugandan number.
Yeah, it's an MTN line. 771 23 17 42.
Okay.
It's I think that's the number that's on WhatsApp. They can reach me there, call or on WhatsApp, and we can talk. Or some who can access a restock, they can get the books from a restock.
Yeah.
And that's just about it. That's how they can be able to get the book, I think. Or you can find me on Facebook, Lawrence Namale on Facebook, or you can Google Life Signatures. You can get either the website or the podcast.
Yeah.
Thank
you so much
for
giving us your time and helping us to the last month of half of 2021.
Yeah.
Thank you for accepting the invite.
I really had fun today. I hope to come back again another day. Maybe when we will be talking about, what will we be talking about?
Spirituality.
Spirituality
and
work.
Purpose. Yeah.
Huh? Spirituality and work.
It's very important.
Very important.
It's very important. Yeah. People don't want to work, but they want to pray.
People should work.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Hashtag with Nabuguzi Kiwanuka. If you loved what you heard, make sure you subscribe to Hashtag with Nabuguzi Kiwanuka in your podcast platform of choice and share it with your friends. Let them know that this is where the gold is. I think God is done in Gulu. Yeah, so I think this is where the gold is. Is it in Gulu? Let them know that this is where the gold is. Feel free to also share your insights about what connected with you on social media, and be sure to tag us. We are at Hashtag with Nabuguzi Kiwanuka on Facebook and Instagram, and on Twitter our handle is at HTNK Podcast. HTNK is in caps lock and podcast is in small case, but it's all one word, at HTNK Podcast. If you would wish to reach us via email, do get to us on htnkpodcast@gmail.com. HTNK Podcast for the email is all in small case. I really look forward to hearing from you. Happy new month! And remember, it's not too late to discover your purpose. Catch you in the next episode.